Georgia lawyers Bob and Irreverent D talk law. Listen up for stories about how things really happen in our legal system. Who are these guys? Dwayne Singleton, Irreverent D, is a criminal defense attorney in the state of Georgia. Benjamin O. Benson, a.k.a. Bob, is a personal injury attorney in Atlanta. On today's episode, Irreverent D does his impression of Kevin Costner.
Oh, Beth, we're going to look at these cows and then your boyfriend's going to kill somebody for me.
And Bob takes it one step further.
Tatanka.
And our guest gets the producer mad.
Unbelievable! No superhero.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You there?
Now, sit back and take a listen as Bob and Irreverent D talk law.
It seems to me like this is why people can't stand lawyers. Because I'm reading this article and it says like this is the tip to be concise. Concise. Brevity.
Where's this tip coming from?
This tip I can't name names. I don't want to be mean. But the tip is here's tip number 1 on how to be concise. Attempt to utilize shorter verbiage unless there is an absence of an alternative. That's their tip number 1 on being concise.
How many words can we use?
Wait, say it again?
I don't even know if I understand this. Attempt to utilize shorter verbiage unless there is an absence of an
They're not even doing that there.
Yeah,
It
that's
should
the bit,
say,
like,
use simple words.
Yeah.
you keep it
That's
simple.
basically what it
Keep
said.
it simple, stupid. We talk plain here.
Less words.
Less words. Yeah. Attempt to utilize shorter verbiage. Yes. This is why they don't like us. Anyways, hey,
The officer.
I don't like us either.
welcome to the show, Mande Moyer, a colleague and a good friend of mine. She's a personal injury attorney here in Atlanta.
Moyer the lawyer.
Moyer the lawyer.
Everyone welcome Mande Moyer, the lawyer gal.
Hey,
Mande Moyer
we
the
now
lawyer.
have
Nice.
all the people here who have clever names. Irreverent D,
The Reverend.
Bob,
Ooh,
Moyer the lawyer.
There you go.
it's meant to be.
It is meant
Might
to
be
be.
a
But I'm
permanent
the
fixture
country
here.
lawyer on Instagram.
The
I
country
should have
lawyer?
thought that
Oh, really?
out before.
Where's your cowboy hat?
I don't know. I got cowboy
You
boots.
have cowboy
on.
boots?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You
we
got
can't see
Ariots over there?
those.
What's that?
You got Ariots?
No, we're all wearing boots.
Yeah.
That y'all
Cowboyed
can't
up.
see.
Well,
Like an
shall
episode
we
of
cover
Yellowstone.
shall we cover the news?
Let's do it.
Yellowstone. I started
Beth is my
watching that,
spirit
and
animal.
then I realized Kevin Costner was in it, and then I was like,
Why?
Why?
he always plays the same character. It's Kevin Costner.
Oh, Beth, we're going to look at these cows and then your boyfriend's going to kill somebody for me.
Rip.
Something like that. Tatanka. So what do we have in the news?
And now, the news.
Our news article is titled Denied. Defense lawyer can't withdraw from litigation over school cheating scandal.
So is this the Fulton County thing that happened like 5-10 years ago, where they had a whole bunch of teachers that were cheating the system and giving like the test? Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah,
They
2015.
were helping the kids out.
They were
Yeah.
helping.
They're
That's right.
trying to get
They're
the
helping the
kids
I
kids
get
out.
it.
So.
Yeah.
Right? Well, is that what happens inevitably when you decide that you're going to just evaluate kids based on how they
When we
test?
only look at how they test.
Then that's what you get.
Yeah, everybody that's
Yeah.
a fish can't climb trees and every monkey can't swim.
Wow, you lost me.
Whoa,
That's
me
good
too.
though.
Say it again.
When you're testing children on certain skills just on a test,
Right.
then kids that are good at one thing, right? Like
Oh.
like a monkey's good
Right.
at climbing trees, but
Right.
he's really bad at swimming.
Got
But
it.
a fish can't climb a tree, but they can stay underwater and swim all day long.
It's
So
like-
there's different geniuses for kids, and I think public school really focuses in on just,
Like we need these measures.
I need high test scores, period. And then you put all the pressure on these teachers, and they're like, yeah, let's cheat.
Yeah.
I mean, right? If
gotta
your
make it through.
job, if your job
Cheaters always
depends on,
win, winners always cheat.
if your job depends on being able to produce results,
And you can't produce the
produce results, well then that's what you get, right? So these lawyer is a public defender of the teachers, and he wants out.
Well, he does want out. Apparently, he's
He's saying that there's like a
still
conflict or
representing 11 of the 11 defendants in this case.
He's
I
representing
know.
11?
11.
How does he not have a conflict?
He
is that
does.
what he's arguing?
That's what he's
All
arguing.
right, so let's talk about conflicts.
Okay.
What is a conflict?
And
What's a conflict in your case?
A conflict of interest in like a criminal case.
Right.
Would be,
like
I've
okay.
got two co-defendants.
Right.
Either one of them could do it or could have done it, or one of them could have forced the other one to do it. So they have conflicting interests.
That's too vague. Give me a real thing. What?
Well, a conflict would be like if two people came to my office and they were in the same car wreck, and I could represent them both. I have done that before. I don't like to, just because, you know, I'll have them like sign a waiver of conflict of interest, but I usually send it over to another attorney that I work really close with.
Yes.
Benjamin.
We routinely
do this.
refer people out because the problem there is, especially you're talking about, like, the problem comes when one of my clients, let's say it's mine, right? One of my clients is the driver and the other is the passenger of the vehicle.
Right.
In circumstances where where they were rear-ended by somebody else, really there's really not much there. But if the circumstances about how the wreck happened has to do more with, like, did the other person run the stop sign or did my client run the stop sign?
Right.
Then you've got a problem. Why? Like, what's the problem?
Yeah. Or maybe somebody else is more injured than the other one. You wouldn't know how to break up the settlement.
And you got to pick one client over the other.
Right.
Therefore, they've got different interests. It becomes a thing.
Exactly. So,
I run into a lot of conflicts just because I've represented so many people in the past. Because I think, like,
Why is that a conflict?
well, you know, now my firm, like, I think we're like almost 7,000 people over 21 years.
That you've represented?
Right.
Wow.
So we've got
Oh.
a big conflict list we have to check. And so, you know, I've got somebody that wants to sue somebody or somebody else that was formerly we represented, and they have different interests with each other. And so we have to do a conflict check and they pop up and I can't represent them.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking more in the criminal context, but like you do family law.
Yeah.
If you have like Jane Doe
Did
that
her
you
divorce.
represented 10 years ago and now she's remarried to somebody else.
And he wants to divorce her, I may still have information about her from our former representation.
Why is
even
that a
if
problem?
I didn't do it.
Right.
Because I represent my client's
Right.
interests, period.
Right, but you're not representing Jane Doe anymore.
yeah.
I understand.
Why is that a problem?
But if I'm suing her for a divorce and I have information about her,
have
like I know
inside
she's
info.
an alcoholic,
Yeah.
right? From when
Don't talk about Jane like that.
when I formally represented her, then
Alleged
I
alcoholic.
may be
right?
able to use that now in this representation. And as the owner of the firm, that goes to all of my associates that represented people.
Yeah, because you might know, even if
Yeah.
it's not something salacious like that, you might just happen to know that she's got a beau in another county that in from a prior
Or
relationship.
she's got a
and
piece of property that she has that she's keeping hidden from him or whatever, right?
anything.
Right.
Or you may just know something about her personality. She's likely to cave if under pressure or whatever. Yeah. So
I mean, they run into that all the time.
but what about criminal defendants? Is there some kind of conflict there?
So yeah, you got two people in the car, and they get pulled over, and they got cocaine in the trunk, and both of them go, "It wasn't me,"
Allegedly cocaine.
right? Allegedly, right?
Right.
And they both come to me, and they go, "It wasn't ours."
We
Can you
both agree it wasn't ours.
Can you represent both of us? And you're like, no, because y'all are going to have to point fingers at each other, or that's a possible defense. It was his. No, it was his.
Right.
Because of that possible defense, I now have a conflict because
Well,
I
we've
can't represent both of them.
Yeah. Because wonder if it was
What
the
if
other
they
person.
right right? But what if they swear on a stack of Bibles? Look, there's no circumstance where I would ever point the finger at boyfriend.
There are some conflicts that are unwaivable.
And
Now,
that's one of
there's minor conflicts. Like I used to represent Jane Doe in her divorce. Now she's the victim in a robbery, right?
okay. Just loosely related.
Right. She can waive that conflict, or she can say, "I don't want Dwayne cross-examining me ever. Get his butt out of there."
Right.
And once it's brought to my attention, like I'm out, and like you talk about pissing off a judge. Judge, I got to withdraw. Why? Because I got a conflict. What is it? I can't really talk about it.
Right. And
and you can't
if it's that far in the past, you can't even explain why.
Right. And they're like, yeah, right. You're just trying to get out of this case.
Now the three of us sitting here, like mentally, we can go through exactly why that is. But let's just break that down. Like, why is it that you can't
why are they
tell?
not letting him out? I'm confused.
And why can't they just get 10 other public defenders?
Well, because they refuse to fund the public defenders every year, and they don't give them their money like they're supposed to.
Yeah. Okay, so let's circle back through a couple of those. One is there's a second part of that, the waivable part, right? In our circumstance where you've got, for example, if it's one of our clients, one of the people is the driver and the other is the passenger, and maybe there's something that talks about whether it could have been the driver's fault, but my client, passenger, is saying, well, I swear on a stack of Bibles I'd never point my finger at my boyfriend who was the driver. Like, can't it be waived it can't be waived in that circumstance, right? Because the very fact that I have to advise her that she does have an argument against her boyfriend, right, means that I'm advocating for a position.
If you can't get it settled, you might have to name him in the lawsuit, right?
No, I'm saying just
he's the driver, and he was
even before that.
Okay,
right? Let's play it out. You're the passenger.
Okay.
Right? You're the boyfriend who's the driver. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, now listen, I understand that you may not want to, but I'm telling you as your lawyer, you may have to argue that he's at fault. If I'm also representing you, that's a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
The very fact that I have to tell you that you can argue against him and he's also my client means that you can't waive that conflict because I have to tell you about an argument against one of my other clients.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't waive that conflict. But here they're saying he's saying he has a conflict, but they're saying,
the judges. Yeah, the crazy thing is that it's already been decided once.
Right.
And so what the judge is basically saying is, look, it's
not a conflict because this is all about y'all cheating on tests and nobody made you cheat, and so you really don't have a.
So this kind of presents the opposite problem, and there are times where you want to get out and you have to stay in.
I've had it happen more than once. You file a withdrawal and the judge is like, no,
sir.
Good luck. Judge, he only paid me $100. Sorry.
Oh God.
So you get trial on Friday.
That's your fault for not following up.
Right. Your fault for not getting money up front.
Right.
That's right. That's opposite from what we have been covering, which is I want to stay in, but I have to get out.
Right.
Right. This is he wants to get out, but he has to stay in. In that circumstance, my
argument is Judge, the 13th Amendment, I can't be forced to work for free, and they're like, oh yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You should have handled that before you filed an entry in this case, because what'll happen sometimes, and it doesn't happen to me much anymore because more stuff's online, but if somebody come in and hire you and be like, oh, I got court appearance on Friday. Yeah, they had court appearance on Friday, but they got trial Monday.
Oh God!
Right, so you file an entry in the case,
and then all of a sudden there's a quagmire.
Right. Well, because now they've shown they have the ability to hire private counsel in a criminal case, so their public defender's out.
Right.
So now you're in. So now his choice is let him out, and he's going to be stuck representing himself.
The judge's choice is
right, or make Dwayne stay and try the case.
Now, I was reading this book by Michael Conley, The Lincoln Lawyer. Mm-hmm. And the Lincoln Lawyer in that case,
seen that movie.
The movie is good and the TV show is really good.
Right.
But they don't play this little scenario out in the TV show or the movie. But it's something. Well, maybe they did in the movie. But basically, what the clever defense attorney says is, Judge, I have to ask for a continuance.
Got a green motion.
Yeah. Oh, we're trying to find Dr. Green.
Right.
We can't find him, and so the judge is like, okay, got it. Does that ever actually really happen?
When I first started practicing, people would actually say they had a green motion.
A green motion?
It doesn't happen anymore. That was kind of an old thing that you kind of get away with. But no, that was reality back in the day. Judge, I got a green motion. Mr. Green hadn't showed up yet? Yes, sir.
Yeah, oh gosh.
I'll continue at one time off the calendar, see if he can get there. But
they won't do you a favor like that anymore.
More and more judges want to see, like, if you get retained on a case, you're on it. You're on it.
You can see why in that circumstance.
Well, they have to deal so many times with people wanting a continuance, wait until the last minute to hire a lawyer, and especially now after COVID, we got 80,000 cases backed up that won't trial, and people are just riding these calendars, riding the calendars.
What does that ride the calendar mean?
You just sit on the calendar and hope your case doesn't get called for trial.
Right, because you're not in jail.
Right, so they call the murder, and they call the rape, and they call the armed robbery, and then your cocaine case gets kicked off for another 3 months, or another 3 months, or another 3 months, or...
It's not important enough to try.
Right, so now, you're 6 years out of jail because you're just like ready for trial
ready
whenever.
for trial, and they're not ready to...
They're not ready to try it on their side, and so we call it riding the calendar.
Riding the calendar.
But the judges...
Riding the calendar. Sounds like Yellowstone.
That's right.
We're back to Yellowstone again.
Yes.
So are there circumstances,
train
Mandy, where you want out but you have to stay in?
I'm trying to think of a time when that has happened.
Because you want to stay in because you're going to get paid, right?
Right.
You don't get paid if you just jump out of the
Yeah.
I've got a caveat to that, but you go ahead.
Well, no, let me think about it. You
Okay,
go.
so
because I have a couple in mind.
I've had that happen where, so I did not learn about the specifics of my client's case. And shame on me. I should have done some investigation before I offered to represent her. But whatever the case, we got kind of knee deep into her case, and I realized, oh gosh, when she got in this car wreck, it was immediately after a different other car wreck. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, right? As long as you know it.
Right.
But she wasn't super straightforward about it. She would kind of just like hem and haw about it. And what we found out eventually was that she had gotten in the first car wreck, and then there was no insurance for that. And so she got in the second car wreck. The chiropractor said, okay, let's pretend like the first one didn't happen.
Oh, my gosh.
And we'll just start a new file.
Oh, gosh.
And I didn't learn about this until I was kind of just knee deep in it. And
what did you do?
We're in litigation, and we're getting ready. We're basically, we've already filed the lawsuit. That's a fancy word for file the lawsuit. And we're getting ready for trial. And I said to myself, well, okay, I've got no good options. I can withdraw from her case, and then she's going to be a pro se, unrepresented person in front of this judge, and that's not going to do anybody any favors there.
Wow.
Right? Or I can go forward, and if I go forward, like, how bad am I going to look if all this stuff comes out?
Terrible.
And I'm going to, and I know, like, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, like, we are going to absolutely get hammered, like, lose. And so that means...
Then you just got to go for it.
Right.
And know that, like,
you just know
it.
that, and that's essentially what I did. I just said, okay, well, I'm going to have to try this case. It's going to take me completely out of my office for 2 days. I have no productivity. I'm not going to be able to do anything else for these 2 days. But I got to stay in it. I know, I was really straightforward with my client about it. Like, this looks really bad, but we're going to go forward because they're not offering us anything. We've got really no other choice. But understand this is going to be a really bad couple days.
Wow. Yeah, and we're probably going to lose.
And we're very, very likely to lose. And
I usually try and, stick it out as long as I can, just because I know, hopefully there's going to be money there at the end.
Right.
I'm not having to collect money from the client.
Because you're on a contingency.
Right. I remember one time I really wanted out.
Careful.
Sorry.
Is this, one of the things...
Oh, this isn't part of the...
Producer Steve is super nice. One of the things he's super touchy about...
Sorry.
Is noise.
Okay.
Noise seems to make a lot of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Unbelievable!
No soup for you.
I'll keep my hands down here.
Please continue.
I was in a mediation one time, and my client... who did not tell me this, even though there's attorney-client privilege.
Right.
I can't tell anybody something that he tells me. The opposing counsel brought up the fact that he was drunk driving. The accident was not his fault.
Yeah, did it matter?
Well, I mean, he was like really drunk. Like, I wouldn't have taken the case if I knew that he was.
Drunk people are people too.
I understand that.
I mean, they didn't.
But it just.
Yeah, you shouldn't be driving. That's true.
And I'm surprised that I was even able to settle that one.
Right.
Because it was an 18-wheeler that pulled in front of him, and to make matters worse, he had a passenger and an 8-year-old boy in the back seat.
Oh gosh.
Which also goes to the conflict of interest. Like the attorneys that were representing the passenger and the boy in the back,
they were coming after your client too.
Right.
Oh gosh.
So I did not know that.
And you're brave.
I know.
That takes some stones.
Yeah. So that's the time I wanted out, but I was miraculously able to settle it. So
congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
great. We all, it's interesting. We were talking about contingency. It reminds me of something that not my grandfather didn't tell me this, but it's something on my list of things that if I'm a grandfather, I would be saying, right? So my own grandfather's sayings, and that would be one, never talk to somebody for more than about 5 minutes before you know how they make money. And never talk to somebody for more than 5 minutes before they know how you make money. Because everybody's thinking it anyways. How does this guy make money? How does this guy...
It all comes down to money.
Right.
Like, what do you do for a living, boy?
What do you do? I can't tell you how many times I would have been saved from a sales call that got me inveigled into spending thousands of dollars on something like I didn't really want to if I had just followed my own. I'm the grandfather telling my prospective grandson this. Never talk to somebody for more than 5 minutes before you know how they make money.
So before we go forward, are you making money off of me?
Yeah, like what's your angle? So that's how we make money. Is we represent people, and if we get them money from insurance companies, then we share in the proceeds of that, right? That's what we say. We use the
beauty of contingency fees is that you allow people access to court that wouldn't have it otherwise.
Yeah, because before you would have to hire a lawyer, you'd have to pay them by the hour, they would have to pursue it, and if you lost, you're just out that money.
And a lot of people ask, like, well, how much is it going to cost to do this? Well, if it's a lawsuit, right, and it's worth some money, it's going to be a contingency fee. I'm going to get paid off of that. But the kind of dirty secret is the lawyer says, well, I'll file a lawsuit, but I'm going to need $15,000 up front. They probably don't think your lawsuit's right.
You're talking about the personal injury case.
Yeah, I'll be glad to sue them, but you're going to pay me first, right? You know.
I've heard this, Mandy. Maybe you have too. But I've heard other lawyers that say, well, I'll take your case, but I'll only write a demand. But if they don't, whatever, I'm not in the business of suing people. And I don't know how you feel about it. I think there are other opinions, but I never do that. If
I don't do that either.
Well, I get so frustrated with I'm settling, settle, because I think there's much more value in litigation.
Yeah,
we litigate a lot of our cases.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's one of the things that we like about each other.
Well, settling, it's just like, settling on like a partner that you might not really like, but you don't want to be alone. So it's kind of like everybody leaves the room.
I'll take this loser because there ain't nobody else around.
Exactly.
Right? The term settling has that suggestion, doesn't it?
Yes. But if it's a good settlement and, the going to trial doesn't make sense,
right.
You want your client to settle. I always want to go to trial.
Because you take a risk going to trial. You can always get a defense verdict. It can always happen.
What I always like to say is I like to gamble, but I don't like to gamble with other people's money.
Nice.
I'll gamble with my own, but not theirs.
I think you're unique there. Right? There's a
Really?
lot of people who like to gamble with other people's money. I don't really like to gamble much at all, just in the general scheme of things. But I really like to try cases. Right. And I'll tell my clients, listen, understand this. I love to try cases. I love to argue. But in the end, understand, as good as an arguer as I am, the jury's either going to believe you or they ain't going to believe you. Right. And understand also that if I love you, but I've got 80 other cases that are in litigation. If I lose your case, I still have 79 other cases that I'm probably going to win, or that I have good chances. You've got the one case.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I'll try a ham sandwich. We'll go to trial.
I'll try a ham sandwich.
On whatever. But at the end of the day, you need to know that the max on this is 55 years. And the judge is probably going to give you that, right? And the offer on the table right now is straight probation.
No jail time.
No jail time. But if you want to go to trial, we will try this thing. Mm-hmm. And some of them go, let's do it. And I'm like, well, let's go.
I'll take your money and I'll do it. But understand it's a gamble.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Gosh. Well, I think it's time for a question from a 10-year-old.
Let's see what she's got.
All right.
Time for questions from a 10-year-old.
And there they are. We have more than one. Okay.
What's the question, girls?
Tell us the question.
Have you ever had to use another law firm in a case because...
Have we ever had to use another law firm? Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes.
Yes. Have I ever had to hire a different law firm? Like that?
Because, like, a law firm can't hire their own law firm.
Like to represent me.
Yeah.
I got it. All right. Well, Dwayne, why don't you start? Have you ever had to be represented?
If I had to hire an attorney?
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I've hired an attorney because I would never, ever represent myself.
What's that saying?
Because a person that represents themselves has a fool for a client.
That's right.
And a fool for a lawyer, right?
And a fool for a lawyer.
Yeah.
You should not.
So you shouldn't do either one.
You should
Shouldn't
ever
represent yourself.
So anytime I've even had little issues come up, I've hired lawyers.
Yes.
So yeah, and I also like to work with other really smart lawyers. So sometimes when I'm in a different place I don't know, or I'm in a different town, I'll try to find the smartest lawyer around, and I'll split money with him so he'll come help me.
That's
that
right.
makes me look really smart.
We do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
There's a case a few years ago that was really highly specialized, very specific kind of case, and I realized that I was not qualified to handle that kind of case, and so I found another lawyer to work with me who was, and he did a really good job, and I worked with my client and worked with the lawyer, and we all both worked on it together. So there are certain
somebody
times.
who specializes in, say, like slip and falls,
Right.
or traumatic brain injuries.
Right. That's
Like
right.
I don't specialize in either of those, so it's an advantage to my client to bring on another law firm.
And,
To
and
help
I
with
like
that.
to have somebody local who
Yep.
knows the community and knows the judge.
That's
and
right.
knows that there's a hairdresser named Susie that knows everybody in town, and she can look over my jury list, and that is very helpful.
Right. I have a case right now where the accident happened in North Georgia, but the defendant lives in Chattanooga, and so we hired a Tennessee lawyer because we felt like, well, even though the accident happened in North Georgia, we'd really kind of rather have the venue be Chattanooga as kind of a more favorable venue, and so we hired that lawyer.
Well, good news for you is I'm getting barred in Tennessee soon.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, that's been questions from a 10-year-old.
Thanks, ladies.
So while I've got two brilliant lawyers here,
Okay.
let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Tell me.
Ready.
I have a past criminal client that I
Allegedly
defended,
criminal.
got his charges dismissed.
So he's not.
So
a
he's
criminal.
not a criminal.
But when he was arrested, they found him down in a ditch. And they
By the
took-
river?
They took his picture,
Oh.
and it is now in a display in an art gallery for sale.
Oh yeah, that's a total lawsuit.
Yeah.
The name, image, likeness lawsuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How much is it for sale for? Do you know?
I'm probably...
I'll buy that for
Should
$2.
I buy it? But yeah, so y'all think that's...
Does it show his
Can I
face?
sue for that? Absolutely. And it says portrait of a drug dealer.
No, it doesn't.
Wow.
Yes, it does.
So that's two lawsuits.
Charges are dropped.
Right.
That's right. That's,
I think it's been expunged. But yeah.
that's two lawsuits.
Libel.
One is using someone else's likeness without their permission and for profit. And two, it's libel or slander or both. Libel,
Yep.
anyways.
So it's not art protected by some kind of...
Absolutely not.
You sue the person who took the picture. You sue the artist who framed it. You sue wherever it's being displayed.
The gallery.
You sue everybody.
Sue 'em
I always
all.
sue everybody.
Sue them all. Let
And
God sort
ask
it out.
them to get out, and they have to ask me to get out of the lawsuit. So
That's
good
exactly
practice.
right. That's
Yep.
exactly right.
Yep.
Well, another episode in the books. Good job, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next time when Bob and Irreverent D talk law.